Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Brian, and we're going to discuss regional carriers and couriers. So many shippers think that they have to rely on UPS or FedEx, one or both of the big two, but there's other options out there.
For sure.
So what are the benefits of adding or contracting with regional carriers and couriers?
Well, a lot of the benefits is time in transit. A lot of the regionals and the couriers, especially the couriers, are one, close to the shipper, and then ultimately for couriers especially, they're also close to the end user or the recipient consignee of the shipment. So you've got that advantage. So time in transit, speed to market, speed to customers is huge. Another big one when you're looking or comparing to UPS, FedEx, and even the post office now with some of the charges, there's a lot less, if any, surcharges that the regional carriers actually charge. So a lot of size and weight limits, you're not impacted or assessed with a regional carrier. Delivery area surcharge type things, residential surcharges, a lot of those surcharges don't apply when you're using a regional carrier. So you've got time in transit advantages, and then the big one for a lot of customers when you're using regionals especially is the cost aspect, which there could be some significant cost savings when you're looking at a regional carrier.
Well, Brian, I'm a marketing guy, right?
Yeah.
So I always like to use analogies. So a lot of shippers put all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. So how can regional carriers and couriers protect against that?
Both FedEx and UPS really make it tough for you to kind of look at other options based on the way their contracts are set up and the commitments that they have in their contracts from a discount standpoint. You really are kind of tied to them. However, if there's an opportunity for you to look at a regional or a courier, that might be an option that you take for maybe testing them in certain markets at first, so it doesn't necessarily impact the spend that contributes to your overall contract with either FedEx or UPS. Is try that out, and if it works and you see the cost benefits, at that point you can start using the regional carrier. And if it starts to impact your contract or your discounts and those commitments, then ultimately start renegotiating your contract with either UPS or FedEx and incorporate the regional carriers into your supply chain. Using a regional can really open up opportunities for different markets, help you consolidate some shipments into certain areas. And also, sometimes you'll find the regional carriers are better equipped to actually handle your business. So depending on the size and scope and characteristics of your packages, a regional carrier might be better equipped with the type of service that they provide.
So let me ask you this. We're going to go into geography here. So is there any regions in the US where the use of regional couriers or carriers is more prominent? Or would it make more sense for someone, say, based in the Pacific Northwest to use a regional carrier versus someone in the Southeast?
Not necessarily that kind of scope, but if you're looking at more suburban or rural areas, depending on the type of deliveries and your customer base, that's really how you want to look at it. There's certain regionals that are better equipped to handle residential deliveries than others, densely populated areas, things like that. So it really depends on your needs and then the regional carriers that you're looking at to utilize and the strengths of that particular regional carrier. Some are better than others in many areas. So. Right. It just depends on your actual need.
Okay. So are there any specific shipping characteristics that would determine whether or not a shipper should rely on a regional courier or carrier?
It could be, if you've got small shipments that are short zone, regional carriers would probably be a good shot. Although depending on the size limits of that particular regional carrier, you might have an issue from a cost standpoint, but in reality, you should really be looking at what that regional carrier can offer, and if your packages really fit within the scope of their services that they offer. The short zone, small packages are usually a good choice to at least test if you're going to test regional carriers.
So I think we can both agree this year's been a bit crazy.
Yes,
right? To
just a
put
little,
it lightly.
yeah. Yep.
So have you seen more of a shift toward the use of regional couriers or carriers this year versus years past? And I know it's always going to be a challenge because comparing this year versus any other year is always going to be apples versus oranges. But hey, right. We're talking about it, so figured I'd ask you.
Yeah, so we've seen a huge, as everyone knows, a huge shift in deliveries going to residences, right? And we have several customers who have 99.9% of their shipments going to residences. With the influx of that volume, basically both carriers since, let's say, late March, early April, they've basically seen this shift that looks like they've hit their peak season, which usually is now, right? After Thanksgiving is really their big peak with the holiday, from a holiday standpoint. And they usually see the residential increase in shipments happening then. Well, this year, you go back to March, April, that's really when they saw their increase in residential shipments. So we like to say that both carriers have been blown out, right? Their buildings have been blown out. Their networks have been blown out from a residential standpoint. So at that point, even now, we've seen a lot of customers utilize regional carriers for those shipments because neither UPS nor FedEx, one, want any more real residential customers, and two, they really can't handle them as well as they could if this was just a normal year. It's just mind-boggling the amount of volume that's going through their residential networks now compared to pre-pandemic, let's say.
So it sounds like shippers do have more of an option than just
Absolutely.
3-2 at this point.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
that's great to know. Well, Brian, thank you for the insight. Thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully this was informative.